What is today, the 17th? Good morning, welcome to the Corrections Code Enforcement Committee meeting on August 17th, 2023. Present today is Finance Officer Chandra Phillips. I have Councilman Schramm and Councilman Hockett, and then I have Code Enforcement Supervisor Chelsea Luce, along with Jail Administrator Lori Kalenda and Assistant Jail Administrator Jeff Augsburger. This morning, we are going to, Justin, it will be late, so I'm going to go ahead and he's asked me to just go ahead and turn it loose with Chelsea Luce, our Code Enforcement Officer.
I guess just the only thing I have for us today is answering any questions you guys have on budget. I haven't made any more changes since the last time that we talked, but I know you guys are getting ready to go into your retreat, so.
A week from today.
Yeah.
I have a question. That's probably more for mayor and council than anyone. We have been, for the last 8 years, all over the board with our capital improvement and code enforcement. We've budgeted up to 100,000, we've budgeted 50, we've budgeted 20. 2022 was probably, no, 2020 was the highest year we've ever spent, and that was with cleaning out the house on Washington and bringing that up to code. Is that something, rather than throwing a number into the budget, when there's not any specific project in mind, would that be something that would be more suitable for contingency or cash on hand, as we've talked about with some of these other projects? It's just a curiosity question. You guys can do with it as you wish. It's not much. She's only got 20,000 in there for this year, but
A whole bunch of 20,000s adds up to a lot.
What do you have on the horizon this year? What are you looking at? Is there any possibilities that we're gonna need some money to clean out some stuff, properties?
Well,
There's some possibilities, isn't there?
a couple of the ones that are problem children for me are up for tax deed with the county. And then there's two that I've had some questions on that were bought by an individual in town after the person that lived in them has passed away. And so hopefully those two will be cleaned up and cleaned up well. So I don't have a specific
Okay.
project at this point.
All right.
Well, I don't see any reason to budget a capital improvement if we don't have a distinct plan for it. I think it just ties up our budgeting process and deal with it. If something comes up and we have to wait a year till the next budget cycle, then that's the time. But just to think, well, we might do a capital improvement project, I'm not sure that that's the right way to budget.
Is the finishing up that building next to the PICS, is that gonna be finished this year? Is that something I'm gonna have to worry about next year
I think it depends on
on Blake?
what Blake says. If
Okay.
it's something that we need to hire someone, or if it's something that our employees can do themselves.
I haven't heard back from him. I emailed him the other day when we talked, but I haven't heard back from him yet, so just.
If it's something our employees can do, it's my understanding our employees do intend to do it if it's something they can do, correct?
Yeah, that's what Troy indicated.
Hammer and a chisel, that's all you need.
I agree.
In the wintertime, when we don't have all the work going on anyway. Sitting around trying to figure out what to do next.
Joe, you were gonna say something?
If we don't have any specific use for that money, why budget? But if there's a possibility that we're gonna spend $10,000-$15,000, we need to budget it. We need to plan ahead for that. It needs to be in the budget if
If it's planned.
That's my question. what do we have coming up on the horizon that we can foreseeably visualize that may encumber tax money? And if we don't have any, then
So
we
I
could,
can
if
tell
something
you
does
that-
pop up, we could handle it another way.
The tax stuff, county took them. They
Good.
have them now.
Awesome. All of them.
They just, I have a list of all the ones that they
Okay.
took, and I,
Thank you.
because they asked for the council to waive assessments on them.
How many was
So,
there?
A total of, I believe, 6.
I was gonna say, I think there's 6
Hours
on this
that we
one.
have issues
Yep.
with.
Here's, what, I don't know today how short we are from balancing our budget, but if we're still short of balancing the budget, then we don't have the luxury of what if we want to do this in this budget, in next year's budget. Because as I understand, aren't we like $400,000 away? And so I know 20 is only 20, but
It's a good
2020's adds up to what? Okay? So we need to not maybe look forward to what we might like to do as compared to what we need to do. And if we don't have a specific use for a capital improvement of this 20,000, then I don't think it should be in there.
This is my point is, if we need it, if it's something that we're encumbered to do, I'm not, Brad made it sound like we might want to spend here, we might want to spend there. That's not my point. My point is something that encumbers our budget that we have to do, that we're responsible for doing. Like cleaning up that place over here, on 4th Street. That's what I'm talking, I'm not talking about a wish list. Maybe we'll spin it on here. No, that's not the point here. The point is there anything on the horizon that's going to encumber our tax dollars that we need to budget for, to pay for? And if there is, we'll budget for it, and if you don't see any, Chelsea, then my thinking is we don't. We keep it out of the budget.
I tend to agree with Chandra and both of you. I don't tend to, I do agree. We've talked a lot this year about if we don't have hard quotes on things and no actual cost, no blue sky, no just a stab in the dark, take it out of the budget. If it does come up and there is a need, if something comes up, we've talked this entire budget season about supplemental budget ordinances taking from unappropriated cash. And that would be in a need situation like the both of you are describing. We are cutting to get to a balanced budget so we don't spend any of our unappropriated cash foolishly on reaches. I'm good with that and putting it back in the control of council. If Chelsea comes with a need, and Chelsea, if you have a signed contract that says we'll tear down 2 buildings and we reach an agreement, that's something I think council would definitely take a look at in the future. I'm all right if, are you guys thinking the entire 20,000 or do you want to
Yep.
leave?
If she just told us she has no need
Okay.
for a capital improvement for
Okay.
2024.
All right,
So why budget it? Because, and what I understand, Jody, is that if we budget 20,000, then she can spend 20,000.
absolutely.
All she has to do is declare it a capital improvement, and I don't agree with that. So I say, if she doesn't have a specific plan for $20,000 in this budget, then I'm not gonna vote to put it in it.
I like the thought process.
And if she comes up with something and can convince 4 of the 6 council people that we need to find the money somewhere else, I'm in. I'm all in for that, but I am not in for this. Let's put it in there in case she happens to find something. I don't like that idea at all, and you know that.
Yep, I do.
So, not sure how to express it, but that's it.
This is the process.
You know?
You guys are shaving
I
because
don't think
of
we
that.
should put, because she just told us she has nothing,
Gotcha.
okay? And if
Understand.
that's the case, then she doesn't need anything. And that's nothing.
That's not
I'm gonna storm right out of here, Brad.
Better
No.
not
Your
with me.
tires when you leave.
Right.
Anything
You asked how
else?
short, Brad? So I
I'm
just-
sorry,
You asked where we are,
I can't keep up.
580,000.
Oh, I thought it was 4.
So now we're 560?
Yep, 560,000. Good job.
You're welcome.
But then I'll also question the consultant deal. We aren't hardly using what we budget for anyway. Last year, we budgeted 3,000. So far, we spent 800. Now it's showing,
Well,
now
and
you want
Brad,
8,000.
I will say, I'm gonna stick up for myself a
You
little
go
bit
right
there.
ahead, that's what you're for.
It's just,
Good.
for me, I, am new into this. I didn't start till Thanksgiving last year.
Yep,
And there's a few things that I do have coming up with that I would like, I'd like to keep that as close to what I have on there as possible. I'm throwing, again, didn't start till Thanksgiving, so just getting into the groove here still.
yep, but I just need an
But-
answer,
Yep,
okay? If you didn't spend the 3,000 that we asked for before you came on,
right.
justify for me why you need 8 now.
So I'm planning on any new houses, stuff like that, with the Adams Street house, we've got a new house over here on, 6th and Park. Having an actual certified building inspector come in until I get my building inspector stuff taken care of.
I don't know that that's our job. As code enforcement officer, I don't know that a building inspector job is her job.
It
Part of
is,
the job
yep.
description.
Is it really?
Yes.
Snuck that one in on me, because that doesn't, I don't know that we need to be in, we'll look at that.
Brad, that has been, I
Brad,
think,
it's
since.
all wrapped up in what she does.
Yep,
It's all encumbers in her job. That's part of it.
It has been since
Cody
they
did it.
hired Mike Brown.
She- Cody did it, Mike did it.
so everybody that builds a new house gets a certification from the city of Winter that this house is good.
Not currently. Because I
There-
I don't have my building inspector license yet.
As an example, I know under code enforcement Bertram, some construction was halted
Yes.
and corrected because of different processes not meeting the,
Code.
Building code.
the building code. We use the IBCC or
Yep.
International.
International Building Code,
Yeah,
yep.
and there were some projects that were taking place that were not meeting those codes, and especially for our area. So construction was halted until they met those codes. And it did make a few people unhappy.
And I wonder what areas that was in, because doesn't the state of South Dakota already have to do an electrical inspection?
And
And
plumbing.
plumbing.
And the state
Yep.
of South Dakota does plumbing?
Yes,
And so you're telling me that we have builders here that didn't build according to the wood code, or whatever you want to call it?
maybe concrete,
Foundation,
foundation,
roof.
yes.
Yep.
Okay,
We actually have people that request for the city to go in and make sure that it is
Yes.
meeting standards.
To actually do the visual inspection.
and the state
yes.
doesn't provide that, like they do the other two? Okay,
Yeah.
And Brad, I think we talked about it a couple meetings ago, but this 8,000 is in addition to, because every year, we end up using structural engineers on certain things. If we have to go in and inspect a house, and that's where that consultant line has been used in the past. Some years has been much more than others, obviously. So some years you hit it, some years you don't. But when it comes to the structural engineer, that is nothing.
Yeah, I have to have something in
Yes.
there for that. It's just higher this year because,
okay,
again, until I get my building
that's all I was looking
inspector.
for was a why,
Yep,
because it's more than what we've ever done since 2021. And we didn't even use any in 2021, even though we budgeted for it, so, okay.
So you, oh, sure, I'm seeing what you're saying.
I'm sorry?
We were also without a code enforcement officer in 2021 for a while. So that's
Okay.
the difference, and then last year you did use,
Half of what we budgeted in
Yeah.
2022. Okay, so now we're gonna take it from 3 to 8 because we only used half of what we budgeted in '22. when we had a code enforcement officer, correct?
That, the 5,000 was strictly for the structural engineer, because there were years prior to this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we were close to doing
Okay.
all of it. I know there was a couple years that Mike was using Blake a lot. And then, so it's really an addition of 3,000 for the other building inspector side. That's kind of why you're seeing the number at what you're seeing.
That's, all I needed was an answer.
There's nothing wrong with those questions. We're asking more questions than we have before, ever, as a council. I appreciate that. Anything else? Chandra, council, Chelsea, I mean, anything? Okay. We will move on. Chelsea, you have the option to ghost.
I am going to.
Okay. And Lori, the floor is yours.
By the end of the day, today we currently have 154 right now, but by the end of the day, we'll have 160. For the month, we're averaging 166 per day, and for the year, we're averaging 160 per day. We have a couple interviews set up today, this morning, for corrections, and that's about all we have so far.
Well, you heard Chandra, 560,000.
We don't have that much to cut.
I'm just asking.
Yeah, we do. Just don't send it.
If you have
20
an option-
departments, 20 cuts, there we
About
go.
the same as what dispatches transfers, so.
Yeah.
Going over our budget, the only thing that we can probably, we're waiting for one more thing, but our managed IT, we're waiting for another quote on that, but I see that line going down somewhat on the managed IT.
On the what, please?
On the
What line is
managed
that?
IT.
Managed
It's
IT.
right after the.
4250.001, up towards the top, on page one. It's a $30,000 amount.
Yep.
I see a possible change in that line going down some.
Going down?
Yep.
Okay, good. By 20?
No, not by 500,000.
It could.
Well, we're not gonna discuss those numbers yet because we have two quotes in. We're waiting on the third, so.
Got it.
Once we have that, then we'll start discussing numbers with you guys, but
It seems like we've been talking managed IT for
about
ever.
3 years.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. So, hopefully by early next week, we will.
so how are we getting by now without having managed IT?
We
Break
call.
fix,
Paying for break fix, yeah.
break fix, repairs and maintenance.
Yeah.
Okay.
For everything.
And that's in the amounts of just roughly
Um,
80,000 a year?
not that much, but, I would say a good solid 25 probably.
25.
Right now is what we're at. I can have her run those numbers and I can.
And so if we get, if this number that's on this comes to fruition, we eliminate that?
I don't think, no, it's.
Some of it.
Some of it we will, but it won't go away with, I mean, we're hoping that managed IT will cover and won't have to come out repairs and maintenance. With the
We'll cover
managed
what,
IT.
please?
Repairs and maintenance, because we hire someone to come in right now.
Yeah.
We don't have a managed IT right now, so everything
Right.
comes out of our repairs and maintenance. So computer stuff goes into repairs.
And you told me that we spend about 25 on
Yeah,
that
but
a
roughly I
year.
would guess.
I-
Yeah, roughly
I
I would.
realize that's a guess, yep.
Yes,
If that's what you said, I'm having a
Yes.
hell of a time, but,
yes, roughly
Um,
it's a guess right now, and It's been a lot of break fix early on before our direct technologies got fixed, or got working. They didn't start till probably March. Was it March? I think is when they came in. And we had a lot of issues in January, February, and March that we sent a lot of money out of our repairs and maintenance
Yep.
to break fix until direct technologies got going on our.
Around
project.
$25,000.
Yep.
And now, if it's this budgeted number, that's more money than what we're spending now.
And what you're seeing, Brad, with managed IT.
Yep,
there
help
is
me
a-
understand
yep, there is
why
a
we want to
much-
spend more money now,
Yep.
or.
And that's why
going for-
when we get the actual numbers, we'll figure out how much we spend, but what you're going to gain with managed IT is we are going to know before it's like, oh no, it broke. So with managed IT, they keep a much closer eye on our stuff and we can get stuff figured out before it becomes an emergent situation. That's what we've been doing the last, I don't know, 4 years, well, probably longer than that. I know of the last 4 years. It's kind of been a fire department. Our IT has been a fire department.
Oh, okay.
It's just putting out fires, and with
Yep.
managed IT, it's going to keep things up and running smoother, and people are actually tracking it. So when we see these numbers, don't get too scared yet, because I want to see what our actual numbers are going to be. But like I said, in the spirit of the process, we can't talk about those numbers yet, because not
And
everybody has it in.
I definitely
So,
understand that, but
yes.
I still wonder, and I realize having an emergency to handle right now,
Yep,
okay, we might not make the best decision, which is what managed IT is gonna help solve.
and it's not
But
even
if
so
it
much
costs
the
us
best
less money
decision.
to
Oh,
do
yeah.
that, if it costs us less money to do that, why have somebody predicting that this might go wrong here, or managed IT, and then spend more money to have that happen?
Because depending on what it is,
Okay.
you can end up spending a lot more money.
So
Depending
far, it
on
just
what
hasn't
goes
come out
down.
that way.
Yeah, depending on what goes down and what can happen because a certain piece went down, you could be looking at spending a lot more money and adding a lot more zeros to the end of that.
Good.
So it kind of goes back to that old, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And I understand we're in budget season, so that's why when we get to this one, we'll have a lot harder numbers at the budget retreat to let you guys discuss and talk about.
And Brad, to clarify something there a little bit, just that's January, February, and March, because like April, May, June, Direct Technologies was on site, so we didn't have to call people in, they were there to fix, because that was part of their upgrade. So that's only really about a 4-month, our repair, fix, break fix on that. It was just a 4-month
quarter.
because they were on, it was like, yeah, almost a full quarter is what that is, just for one to break fix. So we don't have a true 8 months into this is what we paid. That's only probably about 3.5, 4 months that we repaired, break fix.
So you spent 25,000 in the first quarter,
Pretty close,
and
yes.
since that point with the IT project, that was
And
part of the.
And I'll get that exact amount and get that, can you get that if I get it from Holly? I'll get exactly what we've paid so far for the year to them.
My only question is, are we gonna spend more money having managed IT than what we spent fixing it when it broke?
No.
Okay, that's all I wanna know. Because what I've heard so far is that it's the other way around.
Well, and that's
But
only.
now I understand, you didn't pay anything for the second quarter, cause the
Yeah.
guy was here
The
doing,
guy was here every
Okay, okay.
day, hours on
Okay.
end, so it's not a true figure, it's just a quarter is what we would have.
yep, that's what I need to know. You gotta draw me a picture.
But the big picture, we can assume then with a managed IT contract, that this repair, well, 25,000 could be more later on. Could drop some?
It could drop some, yes.
Okay, okay.
So does this managed IT contract, is that they put the stuff in, or we buy the stuff and they tell us what to buy? Is that how managed IT works?
They have those devices that they put onto our system that they can constantly monitor all of our different systems.
And so they can tell us what's gonna go bad?
Yeah.
And
They can
then
tell
we
us
still
when
have to buy the bad?
If-
They don't, it's
No,
not
they
like
don't- they don't buy the
not like a
bad.
car warranty?
No, they don't.
Okay.
No.
They tell us what's gonna go bad and we still have to buy it?
Yes.
So we'll still have
Repairs
repairs
and
and
maintenance,
maintenance?
yep.
Okay, very good. Very good.
Depending on how your managed IT contract is Why I say that is because my current managed IT for Public Works and Finance, they tell us, we've actually had 2 hard drives go bad, and they could say, hey, it's sending me warnings, we need to get hard drives in these computers or they're going to crash. And so we were able to do it before they crashed, which was huge to me. All I had to buy-
Huge savings, yep.
Yep, all I had to buy was the hard drive, they installed it for free.
Okay,
Now, that was covered under my managed IT. Now, if I buy a new printer and they need to install that for me, that's not covered by managed IT. It is all in how you write your contract.
Okay.
So when you truly go out for RFP on this, it doesn't have to be a true bid process because it's what it is, technology. But when you go out for RFP, you need to have 100% the exact parameters that you want. Do we want it to be equipment is the only thing we would purchase from you, and anytime something needs to be fixed, you're gonna give us that labor in lieu of, as long as we buy the equipment from you, or does it matter where we buy the equipment? There's a lot of things that go into that, so I'm very thankful that they're getting these quotes, yes, but understand there could be some things when we actually go out for RFP, because ours is expiring in March as well. The original goal was to put the entire city on one managed IT. I don't know that that will work, based off of what they need versus what we need. We don't need everything that they need. So we might be able to find something cheaper in the long run.
okay.
So
Yep.
these will be pretty darn close numbers, but until we have the formal, this is what we're getting, this is what you're quoting, it could be different. So managed IT is different in a lot of worlds. What they do for managed IT at the county will be completely different than what they do for managed IT at Public Works. It will be completely different than what it is at corrections.
Okay,
But managed IT saves taxpayer dollars, plain and simple. Otherwise, the state wouldn't be doing it, the feds wouldn't be doing it, private business wouldn't be doing
The
it. Everybody has
security.
managed IT because why? It saves money. We have it here in our local government. We have to have it. It'll save tax dollars.
It saves money, yes, but it's also the security. Your internet, your computers is the
Sure.
biggest vulnerability that the city has, any entity has.
Yep.
So another aspect that your managed IT does for you, it's constantly monitoring if someone is trying
Yes.
to get into your system that should not be
That's
there.
part of IT.
Yep. We were hacked. Finance office was hacked back in 2012, 13, ransom. We didn't pay it, which now federally you can't pay it, that's illegal now. We lost a lot of information, and it still comes back to bite us in the butt sometimes. But there's a lot of information that was on computers that was lost. We now have that taken care of, but this is, yes, it saves some money, but the security aspect of it is my bigger seller on it, from my standpoint. That wasn't very proper English, sorry.
We're all struggling.
22,454 year to date.
what was that number for?
That was
What did
break
you
fix
repair?
this year, in the first quarter,
Repair and maintenance.
Oh,
22,400.
464.
For the
460.
first quarter.
okay. That's where the 25 that you were talking
Yep,
about.
I'm
Okay, very good,
guessing,
yep.
yeah. And I'm sure there's a
I
couple.
can't promise you it's just first quarter, because we did just receive a bill for 6,000.
Yep,
That was
and that
over the
was-
last 3 months.
And that
too,
was
so.
August, yeah,
It's for the UPS.
UPSs,
Okay.
it was, yeah.
Which wouldn't have been covered under
Managed
that anyway.
IT.
That would have been a separate thing.
That's equipment.
That's,
Yeah.
equipment.
The UPS was a different bill. This one said help during IT upgrade, 6,000.
Okay.
Which
Oh,
they
yeah.
did, that company, they did, they helped during
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
There's a contract involved, so that'll have to be,
No, I'm talking about, you're not willing to offer at this point.
I don't think we have anything. We've been cutting every time, so it's,
As
there's nothing
Councilman-
left to dice.
Nothing of that whole figures.
560,000.
bit.
A week from today, council will be seeking
Well-
560,000.
We might be dictating where some
Yes.
cuts are coming, and I don't really wanna do that if our managers know. They know these budgets a lot better than we do, because they work with them every day. I don't, I'm not down there every day, these people are. They have a good idea of what we need. They know if there's any fluff in these budgets or where it is. They know it, they can tell you exactly, oh yeah, we could save 2,200 here, we could save 1,500. I don't know that. These people do.
And the other
So
thing
be
is,
forthcoming, like, help us out a little bit.
Just think if we didn't have our important information computers hooked up to the internet, wouldn't need any of this shit.
So last time we were here, the bottom number said down 14%. It says 27 now, is that because,
Because the transfer's taken out.
okay, okay.
Yep, so they wanted real numbers with no transfers on either revenues or expenses.
Just wanted to make sure I understood that.
Yep.
Council will decide where the transfers come from and
Gotcha,
go to.
gotcha, gotcha.
But this is one of the money-making events that we have here.
Exactly.
It's our largest.
Yeah,
So, if
We
you
can't
would
cut the
out
golden
loud
goose.
read
I,
to the
I'm,
public
I'm not
what
disagreeing.
the projected revenue is.
Oh.
Or total over under.
What's that?
I think it would be beneficial for the public to hear what their actual over under.
You brought
is
up a
before
good
the
point.
transfers.
How much revenue does it generate?
Because that's why we operate a jail, is to
Exactly.
make revenues so that I can get streets.
Yep. So when
Okay.
you have their revenues, I'll make sure that's on so everyone can hear me. Their revenues are projected at 5,222,590. Their current expenses are projected at 4,451,283. That leaves them making net profit 771,307 next year. So $750,000.
And what's the negative 27? What's that?
That means that's how much their budget has decreased from last year to this year.
27.
But
Their budget
understand,
or their profit?
their budget,
Budget.
their
That's huge.
expense
Their
budget
expenses.
has decreased 27%.
That's huge.
But that's because you do not have the transfers budgeted in there yet.
Yeah, but the transfers have nothing to do with the operation of the jail.
So last time we met, it was
Okay,
14.
so we're gonna be
the
able to
number was
transfer
14.
27% less than what we did the year before.
No,
No.
Okay,
that's
More.
27% less in expenditures. We have cut 27% of our expenses.
Very good,
this year
thank you.
Compared to
Okay.
last year.
and last meeting it was 14. Last meeting we met, it was
Okay.
14%.
But in fairness, what Chandra is saying,
Yes.
in the last meeting, the transfers were put in here as an
Yes.
expense already, and
That-
I don't want to see that.
And then we did
want-
shouldn't be, we
change
should be transferring
from
profits.
your last meeting,
Correct.
so your real decrease is 22%. Because you guys cut it, you went from 7.25 to 6.75. So you did cut from their budget already, so it does say real increase, it should say increase, decrease. They're one of the few that actually have a decrease. The real decrease for them is 22%, once you take those transfers out.
22 or 27? 'Cause I see 22 in a different line
Correct, because I took the transfers
for
out.
2022 total budget.
Yep. Or, excuse me, the 22 is with taking the capital improvement out,
Okay,
because that was a one-time expense. You don't include that, those one-time expenses shouldn't be included in for their
Okay.
normal expenses.
so on the revenue side, just to ask you this, you say you're gonna have 4.451?
That's expense, Brad.
expense.
Okay.
Your revenues are.
The revenue is 5.2. How does that compare to what we've done in the past? Is that our CPI more?
Yes.
Because we're pretty much running occupancy,
About 87%.
Capacity, are we not?
87% is what
I
we
would
figured.
call that capacity,
Yeah.
20% of
Yep.
your total. So our only means of increased revenue is the CPI increases because we locked ourselves
And-
into
And
it.
that's
we
only
have
on
a
counties.
We've
And
got-
we have a renegotiation
With
with
the
the
Fed.
marshals next year.
With the
April.
marshals, okay.
But we can't put those numbers because they don't exist
They
yet.
don't exist.
Correct, but our current marshals do.
That's right.
That's in here.
That's right,
Yeah,
that's right.
and we don't have a CPI increase with the marshals.
No.
No, we're applying our own because we got locked in for 36 months. So when we come up with a number that we want to ask for, it's going to include what kind of increases.
Realizing that they have to accept it.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
Your budgeted revenues for 2022, no, you want to know your budgeted revenues for 2023, right?
This
Okay.
year.
All I wanted to know was how the 5.2 compared to previous years.
About 200,000 more. Because I have to take cash.
200,000 on 5 million?
Yeah, so their budgeted revenues.
That doesn't
once you
sound
take the
like
cash out, was
7
5 million.
CPI increase.
But their-
help me with that.
Their
It was
CPI is only
4%.
on county.
It was only 4?
It, overall, it looks like 4%, because they budget in their revenues 105 Marshall prisoners that aren't on CPI, that's adjusted every 3 years.
Okay,
The county
so
prisoners.
that's gonna kick
Yeah.
our percentage of increase down. I got, it. Okay, very good,
Once we
yep.
renegotiate that,
Yep,
they renegotiate next spring,
Yep, April.
you'll see that reflect higher than 4%.
higher than
next
that,
year.
yep, okay, for a little bit of time,
Yeah.
yep.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Because they're gonna want a 3-year deal again.
Potentially, yeah.
I understand that, yep,
Hopefully. Yep.
yep.
Never again will we sign a 6 or a 7-year.
Well, not unless you have built-in increases.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that'd be nice to have if you could have a built-in and if you knew what it needed to be every year.
Right. Yeah.
I was gonna say, I was gonna answer a Brad question.